Hello. Hi everybody. It's Tanya here. I'm just going to wait a little while till some people start joining in. I just wanted to log in a couple minutes early to make sure that it's working all right. So I don't know if it's working yet or not. Can I get a whoop whoop? Is anyone there? Oh, okay, I saw someone. This is my first time live, you guys, so I'm really nervous actually. My daughter is here with me right now in the room. Sophia, come here.
Hi.
She's like my security blanket right now. I don't know why I was saying to Sophia I'm nervous, even though I've sung for many people before, but Facebook Live I've never done, and the other reason I'm a little nervous is because I got an email from Catherine Mousseau at Rogers TV in Newfoundland. She interviewed me for her Let's Get Writing session when I was there in Twillingate this past summer for the book and album launch. And she messaged me today saying that, hi Ed, hi Mom, saying that we're going to broadcast your Facebook Live to Rogers TV tonight. So that kind of made me even more anxious because I was just intending this to be a very kind of casual, simple live. I've been meaning for a while to start these with the intention of reading some clips from our book and pairing it with some of the music from the companion albums. So the Heart's Obsession companion album are treasured songs that Georgina Stirling, Newfoundland's Nightingale of the North, was most beloved for singing when she would come home to Newfoundland and perform for her audiences. And the other album at the same time, in tandem with the book, was Beckon Me Home, which is cover songs by Newfoundland's folk hero Ron Heinz and pieces that I fell in love of his. So yeah, I had intentions of doing that, and then obviously we are all in the same boat right now globally around the world, confined to our homes with our family and loved ones, hopefully. And so under these given circumstances, I thought it might be a good time to start that with the importance of the particular readings, the few particular readings and songs I'm going to do that pertain to home and family. And I'm sure there are a lot of Newfoundlanders logging on here tonight. I really hope. I know it's a bit later there for you where I am. But Newfoundlanders, I think, will all agree that we have a very special sense of place and home. And I'll be reading a little bit more about that in a few moments. But I am not wearing a gown tonight. But I am wearing something very special actually that I wanted to show you. I have a lovely friend by the name of Sydney Galbraith, and she is a stunning artist, and she makes these paintings and then puts them onto these silk scarves. And she sent me this one. It's called Ciao Bella, Queen of Hearts. And it is so I'm going to show it to you. Hopefully you can see it. Look at the heart in the back of her dress. it's just so special and precious. And so anyways, I thought I'd wear that tonight for my reading to give me a little bit of comfort. Anyways, thank you, Sydney. I'm wearing this stunning scarf with pride. Okay, so we have quite a few people watching, and I just want to let you know that obviously I have no orchestra or pianist with me tonight. So I'm going to be streaming my backtracks to this speaker, and hopefully you will be able to hear with equal balance my singing and the songs and the tracks. So I'm sure many of you have already seen in my Facebook feed and Instagram the kind of serendipitous Georgina journey that my grandfather and I have been on in the last, 3 years. So it started 3 years ago with me reading the original small book on the Nightingale of the North, wanting to reconnect to my Newfoundland musical roots, and I devoured the book in a day and quickly discovered that a lot of the repertoire that she performed was repertoire that I had performed throughout my career, and also just a lot of Newfoundland family and friends connections along the way throughout history, until her and I met up recently over ocean waves and time. And so it started with concerts. I started writing a list of all the repertoire I wanted to perform in the concert, and kind of putting it out in order of to kind of create a story of her musical and her career, her legacy. She was born in the 19th century. She was born in 1867 and died in 1935. She had an absolutely incredible international opera career from a very young age. She went off to study first in Toronto, came back to Tullingate, Newfoundland, and from there she went to Italy and studied with a teacher by the name of Vannuccini, and then she went over to Paris and studied with Matilda Marchesi, who is most classical and opera singers will know her as the main woman who started and who preserved the bel canto technique that a lot of us opera singers train in. And so she auditioned for this woman, and this woman took her into her studio, and she started performing internationally in operas and concerts across the United States, Italy, Paris, Ireland, Canada, all around the world, and had an absolutely incredible international career. And so the concert started. I wanted to share my passion. I wanted to educate people more on her life and legacy. And then I was in the archives at MUN University at the Queen Elizabeth Library looking at some family archives, some family files that had been sent in. And my grandfather, who I wrote the book with, Calvin D. Evans, look how cute he is. You guys, he just turned 89 years old. Bless his soul. He said, we should write the definitive biography on Georgina Stirling. And at the time I was like, okay. And little did I know how much work it was going to be, but 2 years of writing and researching and performing later, the book came out last August. And it's been an incredible journey, and the albums came out at the same time. So I have to be honest, you guys, I did not crack the cover to my own book until very recently, like I'm talking about a month ago, because although I had read so much of it in the editing process, I needed some space from it and some kind of distance. And I think as most artists, we don't want to hear or see our own work for a little while when we've been so close to it. And I just kind of put it aside for a while, and I gotta say, there's some passages I'm really impressed with in here. Anyways, I'm going to just read a few little snippets. And I wanted people to also get a sense of, like, although it's her biography, there's a lot of music in here for industry musicians, quotes by famous people that she worked with back in the 19th century, composers she performed for, Gounod, Handel, Mendelssohn, and just a lot of inspiration as well, and the stories of journeying and how we can all relate. We got a beautiful review, an early review from Alan Doyle on the back of the book. We got an amazing review from David Pomeroy, Newfoundland's international tenor, and from Joseph So with Opera Canada magazine, and a number of more people that are their reviews are inside the book. But I started chapter 4. I started with a beautiful lyric from Alan Doyle's song "Where I Belong." Now, it's actually written by Alan Doyle and Russell Crowe, and I had to get permission to quote his lyrics. So I emailed Alan, and he emailed me back right away and said, "I'm here sitting with Russell Crowe right now, and you have our permission to quote our song." And I just kind of died on the spot, I have to say. Anyways, listen to what a beautiful, just couple lines that I pulled from his song that really have to do with home and being a Canadian, and especially a Newfoundlander. "And so I'll cast my leaving shadow, and I'll be Canadian. But distance won't decide what matters to the hard rock's loving sun. And when I'm thinking of St. John's, I'll bring her closer with a song. I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I belong." And with that, I'm just going to hop over to chapter 5 and read this other little poem before I read a tiny little snippet about what home meant to Georgina Stirling, and we're going to bring Ron Heinz into the discussion as well. Chapter 5 starts, "Georgina's Twillingate, her voice, her sea, and her family. Let me be where the sea ceaselessly washes o'er pebble shore. There I find buoyant mind, when the wind doth combine with the brine, making sound all around, like a song for the strong. Company for the free, there I see, let me be by the sea." That's by A.C. Warnell from the Old Salts Request. And Georgina had an absolute love for the sea and for Newfoundland, and it was apparent in her letters that we were able to physically hold in our hands. And I definitely share that love with her, as I know many Newfoundlanders do. So I'm going to read a couple pages for you from chapter 16. It does start, it's called "Georgina's Eternal Legacy, a Heartfelt Goodbye." And it does start with Ron Heinz lyrics from his song "Marie," which he wrote about Georgina Stirling. And Marie Twillingate was Georgina's stage name that Matilda Marchese gave her when she was studying with her in Paris. And I'm going to sing Marie for you after I read this couple of pages at the beginning of chapter 16. And if any of you guys have the book, you can follow along. "The moment I first heard Ron Hein's song Marie, its melody and lyrics were profoundly imprinted on my heart. Its tenderness speaks to the pride of Georgina's birthplace and calls out to the striving wanderer whose origins are intimately there. It's a humble nod to her peaceful and idyllic hometown. I feel Marie had been heaven sent to me. It's become a favorite request at bedtime from my son, and has impressed upon both my children and my audiences a precious, compassionate, and accessible insight into Georgina's emotional life and career. Georgina's life started and ended with her first love, Twillingate. The deeper I ventured into this journey, the writing of this treasured book, the greater my joy. With both Georgina and my grandfather, Calvin Evans, leading the charge, it came as no surprise that life had unfolded with such staggering synchronicity. Newfoundland for Georgina was a lighthouse, always guiding her back. I felt confident that Georgina had become my lighthouse to beckon me back home to my treasured roots and to have me tell her story. I thank God when I think back to the gentle nudge from my sweet cousin Jody and the inspired notion to crack the spine of the dear book Nightingale of the North. I will never forget that moment. No one knew the significance of home more intimately than two of our province's most talented singers, Georgina Stirling and Ron Heinz. In my journey to connect deeply to my Newfoundland roots and my homeland, I am forever grateful to the cascading series of events that have come together, linking me irrevocably to them over ocean waves and time, through the most poignant form of expression, song. The obsession of our hearts is deeply ingrained in the art and expression of our love for music and of our native homeland. It has led me to the honor of sharing with the world, and more intimately with Newfoundland, what a blessing we had in our sweet native songstress. I believe this is resulting in a most heartfelt and timely reunion of current and future generations to the significance of our roots and home. How is it that Ron Heinz was able to delve so deeply into Georgina's psyche? His artist's empathy, which gave him access to all forms of humanness, must have had a special affinity for Georgina, whose emotional intelligence was so near to that of his own. They had in common their love and emotional connection to their home, Newfoundland. I reflect on my most emotionally charged moments of performance. The most memorable is my performance of Marie and other repertoire of Georgina's in her hometown church, St. Peter's at Twillingate. I reflect that I also am at home, and I am deeply moved by my own sense of place. Georgina's energy still resides there, and it instantly connects me to that of my own heart's obsession. As a child of Newfoundland, I have come to experience it and recognize it as one of the most significant places I've ever known. It is a place that delights in the retelling of its prideful and splendid history, the childhood stories, the unique culture and sense of community. When I visit Newfoundland, I affectionately nod in delight as I sit opposite aunts and uncles and cousins at their kitchen tables. Every visit is full of retelling. There are storytellers. They tell these stories frequently to keep the memories alive and fresh in their minds, to stay connected to their place. They never get tired of retelling, just as singers never get tired of singing the same songs that mean the most to them. Inside the songs are sweet memories and stories that ring even more vividly and tenderly because they are set to music and sung by the human voice. The stories and memories are tied intimately to our hearts and emotions. Home is not just a physical place, it's also a feeling of warmth, of belonging, and of connection to who we really are. The proverb, "Home is where the heart is," originated more than a century ago in 1870 in the story of Davy Crockett by J.J. McCloskey when he wrote, "Well, home, they say, is where the heart is." Both Georgina Stirling and Ron Heinz shared both this sentiment and love of home so beautifully with their music. This is why I've developed an equal connection to them despite the genre differences. They were both storytellers who never ceased to be rooted in their provincial home, in the music they chose to sing and write, and for which they became known. Georgina's repertoire when she was home in Newfoundland was the more classical version of Ron's heartfelt lyrics about home, but they were both so connected to place. Newfoundlanders had a sentimental tie to Georgina. When she was home, she settled right into her beloved roots. It may not be too much to claim that a sense of place means more to Newfoundlanders and to those whose home is an island. The juxtaposition between land and sea is another powerful factor in defining the sense of connectedness, of identity, of memory, of belonging to an islander feels so strongly. Place defines one's roots, one's situation, and even the purpose of one's life. No matter where we live in the world, Newfoundland's always home. Georgina Stirling was as rooted to the sea as she was to the land. It was a powerful facet in the shaping of her voice and her life. Calvin Evans, my grandfather, shared this noteworthy recollection with me after he read a book, A History of Architectural Conservation, author Yuka Yucaleto. If we want to learn anything from the past, and we have any pleasure in being remembered in the future, we need memory. We need something to which we attach our memories. Memory is one of the key factors in the Newfoundlanders' sense of place. And this is which accounts for and produces the fine art of storytelling and the fine music and songs of many genres which blend into one to keep us grounded in our island home. I think Georgina would say amen to that. And with that, I would love to sing Marie for you. It has absolutely helped to bring the whole journey of this into the 21st century and has added such a huge sentimental factor for myself and the people that end up hearing it. So let's sing Marie. And the track that I'm using right now, I have a beautiful arrangement of it on piano by Evan Smith, but this track right now, the synth strings are by Dima Graziani and the cello is Erica Nielsen and Chris Ledrew on guitar.
Now I miss my home. Now I miss
Georgina back at home. Not so special, not famous, so well known. Just a Stirling girl from Twillingate, a tiny twist of fate smiled upon. Fate smiled upon. Twillingate such an awesome song. Makes me very teary every time I sing it. On my journey of learning more about Ron Heinz music, because I kind of got sucked down a rabbit hole, I picked the most of the songs that really resonated with me the most, and of course brought me to tears or gave me goosebumps. And one of those other pieces is called Away. And the reason that I bring it up in the book is what you'll discover in this next short passage. This is taken from chapter 5. My second trip back to Twillingate was in August 2018 for the final of 3 Nightingale Sings concerts across Newfoundland. I sat at a window table in Georgie's restaurant with the owner and new friend Deborah Borden. As we both have a love and fascination for all things Georgina, our conversation was one of wonder, surmising, and a shared desire to discover the truth. Deborah pointed to the government wharf just steps from her restaurant and remarked that whenever Georgina came home from Twillingate from her performances abroad, the wharf would be full of community members, family, and friends to welcome her back home with pride. I was transported in my mind to what it must have been like to stand at the edge of that wharf. Georgina boarded a grand steamer ship from that very wharf with trunks full of personal belongings, setting sail on a voyage to continents unknown. Her dreams were lofty. There must have been an overwhelming sense of anticipation and joy bubbling up from within her as she embarked on this adventure. How did she feel when she looked back over her shoulder to watch her Twillingate slowly disappear from her sight? When she departed for her first trip to Europe, her voice had only fallen on the ears of familiar audiences and shores. She was soon to be heard by an entirely new world, the birthplace of opera, Italy. Did Georgina, at the young age of 21, realize that she was one of small company of women of that time to have the opportunity and the courage to reach for a dream so rare and monumentous? And that she would also be considered a trailblazer in her time? I think she did, but was gracious and humble in her pursuit. Another Ron Heinz song that touched me was Away, which I'm going to sing. Tears rolled down my face the moment I heard it. I couldn't help but think about Georgina as I listened to Ron's touching lyrics. In describing his song Away, Ron commented that as much as it's a love song between a man and a woman, it's also a song about the love Newfoundlanders have for their home and the heartache they feel when they have to leave her. History saw many Newfoundlanders leave their beloved homes and families to travel across the ocean in search of work in the 18th and 19th centuries to what was referred to back then as the Boston States. Ron so poignantly portrays these emotions in his short but haunting melody. In my mind, I reflected on Georgina standing on the ship for the first time with her trunk as the coastal boat pulled away from her Twillingate wharf. At the young age of 16, she traveled to Toronto after losing her mother and 4 young brothers. Although Georgina was sailing toward the start of great dreams, I was sympathetic to what heartache she must have already endured at such a young age as she sailed away. And now I'm going to sing Away for You, and the track is played by Jesse Fagelman, who plays most of the tracks on my Beckon Me Home album. Little bit that I'm going to read for you. It's just a little paragraph, and then I'm going to sing The Holy City because it's an incredibly inspiring and uplifting piece, and I think we could all use it right now. This piece holds a very special place in my heart. I grew up singing it in churches actually across Newfoundland when my grandfather, Calvin Evans, was minister in many of the churches across Newfoundland. And you'll see actually in the book that I was gifted the original sheet music of Georgina Stirling's copy of The Holy City by Stephen Adams. It was passed down to me by a dear friend, Vaughn Harbin, and it had been passed down to him from Georgina Stirling's best friend. And that piece of music is beautifully framed now in my home. The Holy City was written by Stephen Adams with inspired lyrics by Frederick Weatherly. It has long been a cherished piece and never fails to bring an audience to their feet in standing ovation. Jerusalem is commonly interpreted as the city of peace, and I believe this deeply moving song brings our hearts to search for peace and to be accepted no matter where we are. The light of God was on its streets. The gates were open wide, and all who would might enter, and no one was denied. Jerusalem, lift up your gates and sing. Georgina was the first Newfoundlander to have performed this piece in St. John's, Newfoundland, less than a year after it was written in 1892. And with that, I would like to sing for you The Holy City.
Denied.
for joining me tonight and listening. And I'm really, really grateful, and I'm sending everybody hugs and love. I know there's a lot of heartache around the world right now, and we're all in this together. And I have downs myself, but I have lots of beautiful family and friends that I rely on. And so if anyone wants to vent or needs a friendly ear, I'm here for people as well. And I wish everyone the best, and I hope to see you more on Facebook Live for more of these visits, sharing together readings from the book and more music. And just to end off, I just wanted to show you all that I'm wearing my Newfoundland stockings from St. John. So hello to everybody back home. I miss you all desperately, and I really hope that I get to come out there this summer again and see you and perform. Much love to everyone. Thanks everybody for joining. Bye guys.